$19,000. Today, the average asking price on AutoTrader for an '08 Murcielago is $215,000. That means the Murcielago, compared to its base price, has retained 70% of its value over 10 years. By comparison, a 2008 Range Rover back in '08 started at $79,000. And today, the average asking price on AutoTrader for an '08 Range Rover is $19,000, which means the Range Rover has retained just 24% of its value. So how has the Murcielago done so well? Why is it still so valuable? To find out, I've flown all the way to Atlanta, Georgia to borrow this Murcielago from a viewer. This is a 2008 Murcielago LP640 with an exhaust that, well, you'll hear it. First, I'm going to show you around the Murcielago, and then I'm going to take it out on the road and tell you what I think of it. And as always, for more of my thoughts, click the link below to check out my column on autotrader.com/oversteer. Of course, any tour of a Murcielago should start the same way. Getting in. Now, once you're inside the Murcielago, you'll notice quite a few unusual quirks. We'll start with the transmission. Like most Murcielagos, this one is equipped with the E-Gear automatic transmission, and there are 3 buttons in the shift lever area. Button number 1, Sport Mode. I'm not even going to mention why a 640 horsepower exotic car needs a sport mode. Button number 2, blank. Has no function. Button number 3, the car appears to be jumping. Now, you'd think that's traction control, but it isn't, because traction control is located right here. So we're not really sure what that does. Then the next question is, well, how do you put it in reverse? It's not here, it's not here, it's not here. Oh, that's right, it's over to the left of the gauge cluster and the steering wheel. Maybe they were worried that if you put reverse in the middle, your passenger would reach over and stick it in reverse while you were driving down the road.
Speaking of reverse, when you put it in reverse, it beeps at you like a box truck's backing up, but it doesn't beep outside, just at you.
One of the things you quickly notice about the Murcielago when you get inside of it is that the seats are angled towards the center of the car. They're not facing dead straight. It's because of the way the transmission is situated in the car. It's in the middle, of course. It forms sort of a V shape, and the center console forms a V shape, and the seats are placed alongside the center console and transmission tunnel, facing inward, going the same direction as the V rather than facing forward. So the first time you sit on these, it's a little bit disorienting. If you look straight ahead, you're actually looking off to the right of the car. Also, the parking brake is more than a little unusual. Right now, it's on, even though it's down. To take it off, you pull it up, and then you push the button, and now it's off. You want to put it back on? It's up. But because that would get in the way of you trying to get in and out of the car, Lamborghini lets you put it away. So when you look at it, there's really no way to know whether it's on or off. I guess you just have to figure it out based on whether you're rolling or not.
Another interesting button you'll find inside the car is the front axle lifter button. This is a low car, so when you need to clear that speed bump, push the button and now that you've cleared the bump, push the button again and
But the front axle lifter system isn't the Murcielago's only exterior quirk. Here's another one. By now, everybody knows these cars have glass over the engine so you can see into it. But did you know that in the Murcielago, there's nothing between the flat pieces of glass? It's completely open. So you can stick your hand in and feel the engine, if your hands are smaller than mine.
Here's a strange exterior quirk. It isn't symmetrical. On the driver's side of the car, right in front of the rear wheel, you have a functional air intake. Simple enough. On the passenger side, in the same place, it's a dummy.
Another strange thing about the exterior, you only get one windshield wiper, but it's enormous. We've just measured it, and the wiper itself is about 27 inches long. Add the rest of the assembly, and you've got about a yard of windshield wiper on this car.
In the front of the Murcielago, you'll find its trunk, which is surprisingly roomy. It also has some surprises.
Now, my favorite thing I found in the trunk was this little black bag, which contains everything you could possibly need if you have a flat tire. There is, for example, a compressor. There is a can of tire sealant. And because you wouldn't want to get your hands dirty when you're working on your tires, Lamborghini has also provided some gloves. White leather gloves. Exactly what you want when you're working on your dirty tires. Good thinking, Lamborghini. Another cool thing about this car, Murcielago is Spanish for bat, so they've integrated these cool bat wings into the rear haunches. To lift them up, push a button inside the cabin, and then they come up and make the car more aggressive. thing about this car is it just beeps constantly. I've already shown you the reverse beeping, but that's not where it ends. It beeps if you've left it unlocked for too long. It beeps if it's unlocked for too long and you try to open the door. It beeps if you try to start it. Here are some of the instances of it randomly deciding to beep during just an hour of filming in a parking lot. Murcielago should start the same way. It comes up to my belt. And when you open...
Why?
Okay, so I've been standing in a parking lot for 2 hours talking about this thing. I literally cannot wait a second longer to drive it. Okay, here we go. The steering is just unbelievably heavy. First impression, it is so heavy. I love it. It feels like an old sports car. I feel like I'm really turning it. I love that. Oh my, I am angled towards the middle. It's so weird. In my seat, I don't feel like I'm going the same direction as the car is going. It's so unsettling. Boy, the heavy steering is so nice. It's such a relief from so many modern cars that are so light. I feel like I'm really steering this car. You know, in my Ferrari, one of the things people would say when they would get in it is, well, this isn't so different from a normal car. This is very different from a normal car. I look in the back and I see those window strakes. I turn the wheel and it's so heavy. The mirrors are just these flat planes going out from the car. I'm sitting here and my knees are right next to the steering wheel. Everything about this car is a different experience from a traditional automobile, which is cool. That's what you want if you have a Lamborghini. You want to have a completely different driving experience. You don't want to get in and say, eh, this isn't so bad. Ooh. Yeah, bumps like bad road bumps are not this car's friend. It's just so low. The car doesn't like rough roads, and it generally doesn't like slow speeds. You can tell at slower speeds, it wants to be going faster. Man, the brakes are so grabby. Initially, when you touch the brakes initially, they're incredibly, incredibly grabby. Oh, the sound. Wow. Like about this car is there was no attempt to make it incredibly user-friendly. Despite the fact that this is a newer Lamborghini, it still has a lot of old-school Lamborghini about it. It's still wide, it's still low, visibility is still pretty bad, it's loud, those brakes are so grabby. I am surprised how little room there is here in the front, because it's a big car. Something people don't really realize about the Murcielago, it's so low they think it's a small car. It's not a small car, it's actually quite a large car. It's very wide. Passenger room wasn't their biggest concern. Is of course rough. We go over bumps and you feel the bumps. With that said, it is stable and planted feeling. It doesn't feel like Italian cars of old where there's a lot of front end lift and you're not really sure what's going on and you're kind of scared. I don't feel scared by any means at all. All right, let's see what happens here. I'm gonna give it a nice bit of gas. We have some open highway here. Wow. Oh my, that's insane. Crazy, crazy power. Whew. Wow. There's no doubt that the transmission doesn't feel as quick as a modern dual clutch does. That's one of the drawbacks of the older cars. The old single clutch transmissions just aren't as fast. It's surprisingly smooth. It's obviously a very late iteration of the single clutch transmission, but at the end of the day, a dual clutch with its instantaneous shifts is just going to be faster, and that's simply a reality of these cars. The sound with the downshifts is so good! You have to be careful though, because if you even push the gas for a second, you've already violated every legal speed limit in the country. I'm in a 55 zone right now, but getting to 55 in this car is hard. The speedo goes to 220, so 55 is in the first third of the speedometer. 80, which is probably the maximum US speed limit, is not even halfway up the speedometer. So you have to be very careful. All right, so I'm in third. I'm going to give it gas one more time. You just have the ability, God, the brakes are insane. You have the ability in this car to change your momentum so quickly in both directions. You know this car is fast from 0. We all know 0 to 60 times, 3 point whatever. Everybody knows it's fast. The craziest thing about this car to me is the speed when you're already going 65. When you put your foot down at 65, it feels like a normal car starting from 0. So that's the Lamborghini Murcielago. It's still worth so much because it has just about everything going for it. It's rare, it's crazy looking, ferocious, fierce, aggressive, awesome, exotic. The driving experience is just so far beyond the realm of any traditional sports car. And the sound, the noise, that sound alone is basically worth every penny.